Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining here for yet another call. And we have two projects today to present their pitch. So we have firstly, please welcome Íñigo Cavestany Villegas, co-founder at Second World Games. I think it would be the first project to present. And the second one would be Brian Anderson, founder and CEO at Race. So let's start with Íñigo. Hi, thanks for joining. And whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Once again, I have tuned in for some other sessions with another hat, the investor hat. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much. All right, let me share my screen. Wonderful. So my name is Íñigo Cavestany. I know it's a hard one for non-Spanish speakers. You can call me like Indigo, like the color, but without the D. And essentially, we are Second World Games. We are building our dream project for the past 2 years. And essentially, we are a team of passionate players with experience building technology, addressing user challenges, and in the end, building solutions to problems for the past 10 years, both in the startup world and in enterprise-grade environments. So, entertainment, right? Why entertainment? Well, we all know that entertainment is more than just an industry. It's an eternal force that has shaped human existence since we started reasoning, we started getting entertainment, and as it says in this slide, right, from storytelling around campfires to the digital realms of today, entertainment has always been with us, and it will continue to be around us for forever, right? So for us, entertainment really matters. In my personal situation, I was a pro player in Medal of Honor as a teenager when I was only 13 years old, and I spent almost 5 years and uncountable hours competing with lots of people worldwide. So it wasn't only a chance of having fun, but really getting to meet people around the world, learn English, and even get passionate about technology. So in my case, entertainment has impacted my life so much, although I then graduated in university and worked in an enterprise grade company like IBM for 5 years until I left my comfort zone and I started, as I said before, this dream project that we have been building for the past 2 years. So the gaming revolution is where we belong and where we want to be. I mean, we all have experience working with tech to address all sorts of user challenges, as I mentioned before, but we see a huge opportunity when it comes to gaming. We are talking about an industry that already represents a bigger market than cinema, sports, and media combined. So it's not something we need to underestimate at all, and that's why we are seeing some of the biggest acquisitions in history, like Microsoft with Activision, being in place in the last years. So essentially, the reason I gave up with gaming at a period of time, apart from my parents, being tense with me playing so many hours, was essentially because at some point I gave up. I felt there were too many limitations for me to continue evolving and making gaming a career that I could work on. Obviously, I was partially wrong because we see a lot of people living off gaming today. But at the time, as a teenager, it's true that there were a lot of restrictions, limitations that wouldn't allow players to really, see gaming entertainment as a way of living, right? So this can be limited ownership, centralized control, and obviously all the management of data that we are very aware of that has been growing up in the web since its inception, essentially. So we see a huge opportunity in the market ever since the first wave of Web3 gaming and all the excitement and hype started. We realized that obviously the most important element of any game is that it's fun and that it entertains people. I used to play Medal of Honor without expecting anything else in return. But it's true that we see a huge potential in expanding entertainment to new heights, to other benefits. And this is where Web3 comes into play, and we feel we can really put players in the center and reinvent their status quo as players. So essentially, Swayo, our ERC20 utility token, is the passport to all this endless fun across our gaming ecosystem. But apart from that, it's a way to empower players and to really turn them into owners and decision makers of our gaming world. So far we have been able to secure in our Suayo pre-sale already 2 years ago, 1.5 million euros that has enabled us to build an in-house team of over 15 professionals that are passionate again about gaming. And on top of that, we have been able to also open an equity and token fundraising round where we have already closed 1 million and we are looking for an additional million in a valuation of 10 million post money. So this is the team that I have partnered with for this adventure, for building this dream project. This is the team of both of co-founders and advisors. And here we have the game and design development team that we have been working all together for the past year and a half, very, very hard on essentially launching the first 2 games that are already available in the app stores. So essentially the way we are, let's say, attacking the market is by concentrating in the mobile gaming space. We really wanted to make our games as accessible and frictionless as possible. And we felt that the way to go was to first develop on mobile and then expand to other platforms once we validate our gameplay and the experiences we offer to players. But essentially what we wanted is to create an ecosystem where players can navigate without losing the value they generate and getting rewarded as well for their contributions to our gaming world, essentially. So the first and most important game that we have developed and you can already play and download in the app stores is Second World. Essentially, Second World is a game where you have to acquire one unique city of the world. So essentially it's inspired on planet Earth, on our own world, for the further connections we will do later on. And basically once you have that city, you have to level it up through different historical eras until it becomes a strong empire. And then you have to compete against your enemies from other cities, from other empires. So we are really, really inspired by titles like Clash of Clans and Clash Royale. We follow the same path of mobile first, free to play. And obviously, once that fun entertainment experience is validated, that we feel we are at that stage, we really want to enable and deploy all the Web3 values and principles into our ecosystem. That is what we are about to begin in the next month. Then we have another game in another division that we created that is more intended for hyper-casual players. In the end, we don't want to restrict ourselves to one specific type of player, but really build a strong community that is empowered and that is able to decide what's next for our game studio. So Ball Guys is the first title under this category. Again, mobile first, free to play, and it's already available in the app stores as well. And it's about multiplayer racing against your friends, and you can already get rewards from competing in this game, as well as in Second World very, very soon. So essentially, Suayo is not only a symbol of governance and ownership, but also of achievement. So essentially, we want to allow players to be rewarded and monetized through competitions and through being strong contributors to our ecosystem. So essentially our games are not just entertainment, they are gateways to a universe where players become owners and decision makers. So far, we launched both games this year. It's true, Ball Guys was available a little bit before, during December, but we have already managed to acquire over 15,000 players. We are already almost in the 20K mark, and we are very proud about this result because it has been completely organic. We haven't really invested on marketing yet. We have been, during the bear market, very concentrated on validating gameplay, building a strong organic community around our vision. And now it's time to start investing and getting a strong return on investments when it comes to user acquisition and retention. But yeah, essentially we are not a huge community yet, but we haven't invested really. So that gives us hopes also with all the feedback that we have been collecting and applying in our development life cycles, that we are moving in the right path. So obviously, I mean, for a Web3 project to be sustainable, we need to think about business every single time, as it's obvious. We have been doing that for the past 10 years, as I mentioned before, in the startup world and in the more enterprise environment world. And the reality is that the way we are giving intrinsic value to our token is by linking the token with the studio's business performance, and then distributing and emerging that revenue share through the thanks to the contributions that our community will provide us. So the objectives of our players, of our community, are fully aligned with the project goals and purpose. So given to that, we are designing a very Web2 oriented business model, but of course we want to decentralize power and return all the value that players generate through different mechanisms like the one I just mentioned before. So obviously, I mean, so far it's been fully organic. Everyone says that in the bear market is the best moment to establish connections and to build real products stacked with true value. And this is what we have been about, you know, but in the end, our main target are Web2 players that know nothing about the technicalities and complexities of the Web3 world. And we basically want to build a community around entertainment and provide a seamless experience for everyone, that so nobody is felt, like they cannot be part of our community. So for that, we are really enabling a player-centric approach in multiple ways, but in the end, what we want to become is the game studio by players for players. So we want players to be at the center of all the development and all the evolutions of our game studio. So in the end, we tend to think about Web2 in one side and Web3 in another one. All the experiences that we are building are inspired by the best titles in the Web2 space. So essentially, we want to focus on the experience first, on the entertainment that our games will provide, and then expand all that value to other heights thanks to Web3. So that's what we have been building for the past 2 years. And now we are about to start deploying progressively all the different Web3 modules in a seamless, frictionless way. And we are about to start as well with all the community and user acquisition with different viral growth hacking campaigns. Like for instance, in terms of our go-to-market strategy, we are already collaborating with some of the top biggest communities in the Web3 space, such as Memeland, Pudgy Penguins, Sappy Seals, the Truth Group, and our own community. And with them, we have customized an airdrop campaign that has already provided us with more than 1 million impacts, mainly on Twitter. And that's allowing us, without spending a penny, to really get to be known, raise awareness around Trio, and showcase the value and the experience of our games to all the gaming world. Finally, I want to say that, of course, to make this experience seamless and simple to navigate, we are relying on strong collaborators, strong partners that comprise our ecosystem. In this case, we are working on the Web3 stack with Immutable and Polygon, and we have been granted a grant that is based on development milestones. So we are part of their Siki VM environment. We are already building all the stack. And we have great news because we are not going to have gas fees until September, thanks to an announcement that was published by Polygon and Immutable a couple days ago. And this seamless experience is going to be built up with their own stack together with Immutable, Passport, and Polygon. And just to finalize, it's not only about the tech infrastructure that we want to build to deliver on our promise. It's also that we feel that we cannot make it and fulfill our dream of empowering players and turning them into owners and decision makers alone. So for that, we are really relying on open innovation, as we see that is the best way to fully align open source development with Web3 incentives. And as such, we have been already building up not only in the tech space, but also community-wise, a lot of strong partnerships that will allow us, as I said before, to not only entertain hopefully millions of players globally, but also allow them to, unlock benefits that they haven't found in gaming up until now. These have been our achievements so far, but the real fun begins now because we are about to launch Swio approximately next month. The final date is about to be announced very soon. And obviously, once Swio is implemented and knowing that our games are already fun for our community, we are going to start progressively implementing Swio in all our gaming ecosystem and enabling all the benefits that we have been discussing. And this would be it on my side, and I would love to hear any questions you may have. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Íñigo. Again, guys, if you have any questions and comments, you are free to leave them in the chat here, or you can raise your hand and ask questions to the speaker yourself.
I leave you our link tree here in the chat in case you want to navigate our documentation, relevant links, etc. But of course, you can ping us, just reach out to me and I will share with you our data room as well, so you have all the details about our project.
All right, so we have one raised hand from Joshua Hale. Hello, Joshua.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So if you're planning on distributing tokens to players that have helped build your system by playing, what's your thought process on the United States and dealing with this question of the tokens being a security?
Well, so far our token has been the way we have fundraised through our token didn't have any US investor. So in that scenario, we are not worried, although we have built up all the legal and compliance around it, so it's so it can work. But it's true that there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the US regulation, even in comparison to Europe, which seems to be advancing with MiCA and other type of frameworks. So I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, not only for us, but in general with most, probably 98 utility tokens out there. So we are eager to see how this moves forward. But as of now, we are gonna have our TG in a centralized exchange that is fully legal in the United States, and also in parallel on Uniswap, we are gonna have all the liquidity stacked there. So you are gonna have both channels. But I know this doesn't answer completely your question, but I know it's hard to answer it at the time.
Okay, I think it's finished. So the next question from the chat from Dr. Adele, which wallets are you using?
So in an ideal world, obviously, when we talk about interoperability within our world, that's something we can enable quite fast. But when we think about connecting with other gaming universes, we know that's a challenge when it comes to connecting all the different blockchains in a seamless way. But what we know so far is that we can do it in our own environment pretty easily. So for that, we are heavily relying on the partners that Immutable has support with, well, Immutable X Polygon, and we are testing different options. But in the way we see the experience, we want players to arrive to our game, and if they know nothing about Web3, be able to simply log in, sign up with their email, and have a native wallet embedded in the game, so they don't have to do anything else than that. And then as we evolve, we really want to help players transition to Web3 in order to have additional benefits like lower fees, etc., etc.
Okay, the next one, again from the chat. So can you share a link to where we can personally reach out to you?
Oh, sure thing. That one, you have it over here. That's my LinkedIn, and in all social networks, that would be my name if you look for me on X, Telegram, wherever it is. And I will just paste the link tree of our project right now as well.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, in addition to the previous question, Dr. Adele left a comment again. One of my companies has a wallet that does exactly that, can help you with it. So yeah.
Well, let's talk, let's chat. Would love to.
All right, so another question from Charles, raising hand, and I think I see. Let's move it to Charles.
GM, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I just have a few questions. I heard I can't recall his name. That's Íñigo. He talked about airdrop, and he said he's launching very soon. I would like to get more information about the airdrop. Are they planning to on an airdrop before the launch, or have they done that before? I would like to get more information on that.
Sure thing. The airdrop consists of 5,000 NFT boxes that are free and will be airdropped to 5 different communities. The first and foremost is our own community that will not only comprise our own community of players and pre-sale investors, but also other communities that may join. So each community is going to have 1,000 spots to this whitelist claim, and then they are going to be able to get to an NFT box that will contain Swile, our own token. So essentially what we want is to bring in some of the top communities out there, our own community and the rest of them in the Web3 space. So we basically drive awareness of what we are building. We get to have downloads of our game and therefore engagement in the game. And obviously, we feel it's a great go-to-market strategy that it's not costing us anything right now, and it's going to allow us to have holders of very strong characteristics or profiles, right? So the cool thing as well is that our airdrop doesn't need any wallet connection. So we are basically giving it in a first come, first serve to each token holder from each community. And what is quite alpha and we haven't announced yet is that this is gonna be sort of a competition between all these communities in order to find out which communities get more allocation. So obviously we are all about having fun, about gamification, and that's exactly what we want to enable for our airdrop. And again, we are putting security first. There's no one that is going to need to connect to any place. I know that's a challenge for most Web3 holders, and that's something we wanted to put first, and that's how we have done it.
All right, thank you very much. I also do want to also reach out to you personally.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Charles.
Okay, cool. The next one from Juan Andres Calderon. Do you have an estimate time for TGE?
We have a big estimate. All I can say is that we want to do it, if possible, in April, but I cannot disclose the final date because that's at the moment being worked out with the centralized exchange. But basically, yeah, I mean, an ideal moment would be around the Bitcoin halving. That's what we are aiming at.
Okay, done with that. And I see a comment from Dr. Delegan. Horus Wallet allows you to do air mail drop via email. So yeah, and he also left LinkedIn, so you can reach out, obviously.
Just connected.
Okay, so any more comments, questions? Well,
maybe I can elaborate a little bit more to the first question from Joshua. What I understand as well from the fundraising side of things is that if we go for the equity round, that would be something that in the US would definitely be permitted, the way we have structured the round. But I understand that token private sale is the more challenging element to analyze. In any case, if there's any lawyers in the room, I would love to have some clarification on that side, although we are obviously working with some of the top lawyers in the space to have this as clear as possible.
Íñigo, I'm a lawyer, that's why I asked.
Through a lawyer, Joshua Hale lawyer, sorry about that, yeah. Thank you.
All right, so I think we can move on. And again, for those joining in, it's nice to see you all here. My name is Ivan, and I'm hosting today's meeting. And also, Adia is helping me out here as well as a co-host. All the questions are free to be left here on the chat. And by the way, after the second project finishes, we have a special announcement here to make. So guys, don't go away, just stay here and we'll make a little announcement. So yeah, I think we can move on to our second project. For today, we have Brian Anderson, founder and CEO at Raise. So hi, Brian.
Hey guys, good to see you all. Excellent. Yeah, nice to see everybody today. Thanks for the time. Excited to walk through a little bit different kind of take on blockchain and Web3 as it relates to raising capital and as it relates to the private markets here in the United States. We, just a little bit of background on myself. I spent roughly 21 years or so in and out of software companies and different types of businesses that I started myself. I spent 13 years specifically in some emerging tech, and in 2014, I left a company called AirWatch after we got acquired by VMware. So it was kind of the first unicorn company that I got to really kind of experience and see what it's like to scale a company from the ground up. Even though I didn't start the company myself, I worked for the CEO directly, and we grew from a few hundred employees to 1,800 in a few years, and it was just a wild ride. So that really inspired me to get into just continue my journey in the startup world and then go out and start my own businesses. And so for the last 10 years, that's what I've been as an entrepreneur. And I didn't really stumble upon blockchain and Web3 until around 2019, 2020. And like everybody, I was just kind of hooked with the whole concept. And I just saw this beautiful integration between finance and technology. And so in 2022, I started this company, early 2022. We put together an MVP. We flew down to Consensus and raised a little bit of money on the MVP because it was all around raising capital. And I was kind of hooked from there. And even though the crypto and blockchain markets were kind of collapsing from there, from Celsius going down and everybody else, and then FTX, we were building and preparing for not just the space to expand, but just kind of our moment to be a more of a Web 2.5 company and a great solution and utility play to bring everybody into tokenization from kind of the outside world back into our world. So I saw a lot of problems for the last 2 decades, and I don't think very many of these things have been addressed in private markets. And when I say private markets, I mean anything that's related to a private capital deal, real estate, startup, fundraising, any investment opportunity around the world, from private investors. And of course, those have to be accredited investors if they're in the United States. But if you look at just so much friction still exists today that has not been solved, and it's mainly because of these issues. There's a lot of other issues that we could talk about, but a lot of it's related to just a very low tech, high friction environment, almost by design. Almost by design. Everyone's been trying to talk about this whole secondary market and liquidity problem in private securities and private fundraising and investment, but it's not really designed for that. It can be, but it's not really designed for that right now. And of course, there's no support or very little support for digital assets, being able to settle with crypto when you're investing in a project. It's kind of a very complex web of regulatory rules. And I heard you guys talking about this earlier. And so we set out to kind of help solve some of these problems and try to remove as much friction from the process of raising capital. Another thing about the technology is very interesting is that, and of course, this is very basic and high level, but if you think about the lack of technology innovation that's actually occurred, in the last 3 decades, it's been almost nothing. The most recent one that we can think of is really when Carta came out with more of a digital security that represents an actual security, but it's still not really, it's really a proprietary Web 2 kind of solution to security. It's certainly not on chain. So the emergence of blockchain, like we all believe in and know, is absolutely disrupting everything. So we're actually not only betting on blockchain, but we're betting on the future of tokenized investment contracts and what we commonly refer to as security tokens. Our platform supports really anybody inside the United States and outside the United States, but it's really effective for highly regulated types of environments for raising money. I'm not going to get into all these details, but what we have been building and working on really kind of covers all of these 6 areas around being able to build in accreditation and regulations inside and engineered into the token, being able to have immutable cap tables and on-chain kind of equity. Think about taking your cap table and putting it on chain. Like, how do you do that? Being able to control how securities are transferred and traded. All that stuff is super complicated, but in reality, it's actually here and now. It's actually possible to do these things. And then being able to use smart contracts to process crypto payments, which we've been doing for 1.5 years for traditional investments. So I could go on and on about a lot of these things, but these are the kind of solutions that we're providing to the private fundraising space. So our solution, that we call our company Raise, is really initially we built this to replace an archaic paper-based private capital markets world, bringing on equity, revenue, and debt securities on chain. We're super excited about all that we've accomplished so far. It's been a wild ride the last couple of years, but the things that we've already built and we're in the process of perfecting is a single platform for a company to go to market and raise money, virtually any stage. But we've just been kind of focusing, serving pre-seed rounds to, closer to Series A. But as our platform evolves, we believe it's going to disrupt Series A and beyond, and larger rounds as well. We've also incorporated investor relations tools, investor networking tools. Automated compliance has always been built into the platform. So every investor has to KYC, AML check before they can do an investment into a project. And we can turn those things on and off. We've already done that for things that are outside the country and don't have certain types of restrictions or rules. And then, like I said, we've also been doing smart contract settlement with crypto. Most of the companies that raise capital are still going to accept traditional wire, but I believe a lot of companies like the idea of having the option to be able to accept crypto. We don't touch funds. We don't hold funds. We're not a money transmitter, but we do have smart contracts to help facilitate that. And then I'll get into the immutable cap tables in a minute. So how our platform works today is companies can come on, build their offer, like a traditional offer. It may be as simple as raising on a safe agreement, like a Y Combinator safe, and just doing a simple offer with a pitch deck. Or it could be very complex to a convertible note or a SAFT agreement with a future token offering, or a subscription agreement for equity. We can support literally anything that can go into a legal agreement. And then the company goes out, markets to their investors. They can use our tools to find new investors, grow their network, and then close investors through the platform. And the way that the actual deal room platform works is it looks and feels a lot like crowdfunding, but it's not Reg CF crowdfunding. It's actually private fundraising or private placement. And so we ensure that the investor experience is designed in the US to be just like a traditional investor would expect it to be able to go and invest in a project. But we've taken a lot of the pros and the benefits and positives of some of the crowdfunding kind of sites that are out there and brought that into the private world. So it's a pretty innovative way to be able to list and raise your capital, and it really empowers companies and individuals that are leading up the rounds to kind of do their own raises and not just depend on somebody else. Because here's the reality: 95% of companies are not going to get their check from a lead VC. They want to, but there's not going to. There's hundreds of thousands of companies trying to raise at all times, and everybody's competing for capital. And so we've really empowered a much easier way for companies to go to market. One of the things we added at the end of last year that's starting to really get a lot of attention and do really well is what we call auto IR. This is a form of setting up your LinkedIn and email as a founder or as anybody in the company that wants to manage this, and be able to go out and essentially does automation tools to be able to go find and connect with potential investors, develop relationships. Doesn't have to even be an investor, it could be a partner that it develops, or even a customer that comes out of it. But it's really powerful and honed in on actual investor relations. The other part of our innovation that I want to talk about, which is really specific to Web3 and blockchain, is our token studio, which is currently in beta right now and being rolled out at the end of Q1. And this is really powerful because what this does is it essentially takes any kind of standard round that you're going to market with, whether it be your equity that you're selling or debt or any sort of revenue stream structure, which is starting to pick up popularity. And you can actually create a security token out of it in a very thoughtful way. And it complies with all US regulatory rules because we've actually built ourselves on top of a permission-based public blockchain called Polymesh. And they're really starting to get a lot of attention as well. But we found them as a perfect partner because this allowed us to be able to finish our mission of being able to provide a very regulatory friendly way to tokenize rounds and be able to go to market. And there's a whole nother conversation into these details I don't have time for, but this is really some of our big IP that's part of our company. Underneath the hood, this is kind of what our operating system looks like. Companies can go through an experience of raising capital, investors can go through an experience of investing, and then there's tools to help support those folks raising capital. And then underneath the covers, from day one, we've always done KYC and AML checks on everybody. Like I said, we have always supported any kind of payment, including crypto, and then we've always tokenized every investor identity with their KYC credentials, meaning we just know who every investor is once they come in and register. So it keeps everybody safe, and we've kind of recorded all that stuff on the blockchain. And now we've integrated with Polymesh to really be able to roll out and show the world that security tokenization is actually possible. This market is absolutely going to be enormous. It's starting to pick up steam. We're years away to where it's really truly mainstream, but most of the attention is on real world assets and real estate, tokenizing real estate. We're really focused on non-real estate projects, equities and startup projects. Excuse me. We're also starting to have funds that are coming onto the platform as well. But we see this as one of the greatest times to get involved with a company like ours because it's super early still, and it's a bit of a blue ocean right now. It won't be that way over the next 5 years or so, but it is absolutely early stage right now, and the market potential for tokenizing equities across the world is enormous. We've made a lot of progress over the last year and a half. We basically brought on quite a number of customers raising capital in different types of stages to prove out the concept of how this could all work, which is what led to a lot of our innovation that we have today. Our potential opportunity as a company is pretty significant. These are fairly conservative numbers based on the SEC data that's out there, but in the US alone, there's typically around 75,000 companies competing for capital that are active, and that's not counting the millions of new businesses every year that get started. And so we see this as a great opportunity for our company to really grow, and we don't really have to tap into much of the available market that's raising in order for us to be a pretty large company. Our current business model and how we make money is we charge a monthly fee for kind of like an all-in package for including investor relations services. We also have advisory services for people who need a lot more help on that side. And then as we're rolling out our security token protocol support, there'll be a little bit more of a consulting / setup fee for that, but we're going to generally keep most of our prices the same as companies begin to roll on to tokenizing their equity and other types of transactions. And then in the future, we have the opportunity to be able to actually make transaction fees depending on how we decide to do certain payment rails. Today, we've actually worked with roughly 75 customers, and we did about $110,000 of revenue last year. That was kind of our first revenue year. We're on track to hit 1.5 million this year already, and we've hit all of our Q1 goals so far. So we're starting to really track with the company, and I'm going to be super excited to announce at the end of this year that we've exceeded $1 million in revenue, which was the goal for 2024. So we're definitely building this to be a Series A type of raise, probably by early next year. We have a great team that is really diverse from a lot of different stages and startup life and multiple people have had exits from our team. We've got advisors that range from the legal side to the capital markets, like Tim, for example, who heads up a lot of our sales and business development, has been a registered broker dealer for 30 years. And he is leading up a lot of kind of the team, the outbound stuff. So he's got a lot of experience in that area. But we also have people that have been in the Web3 space, have built in this space. And then we have software folks that understand how to scale software companies. So we're nowhere near complete with our team. In fact, a lot of our team is still bootstrapping and still working, full-time and being paid barely part-time. So we're a typical startup, but we do have a great dedicated team, and almost all of these folks have been with us for more than a year. The opportunity for investors to invest is, we've just done a simple safe of $1 million that we've had open since last year, and we've raised about a little over half of it, and all on angel investors. And we are, before we close this out and go to our next round, which is going to happen sooner than later, we've got $450,000 left on our safe. And you can actually scan that QR code and it'll go directly to our listing. On our listing page, you just got to have the password, which is equity. And you can check out kind of our general offer there and see some more details about our raise. So really appreciate the time, and I think we'll have time here for questions. So I'll kind of hand it back to you. Excuse me, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thanks, Brian, for your amazing pitch. Yeah, we have questions here in the meeting chat. So yeah, let's just read it. One from Osnat. Can investors use SAFE and fiat?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of our companies that came on last year were just using a simple SAFE agreement and taking bank wire transactions still. Of course, you're not going to get the beautiful instant settlement of using crypto and transacting that way, right? But that's just the way the world is right now. Most people still want to use wire. Maybe ACH, but in the US, but it's really wire. But yes, you can absolutely just use a SAFE agreement.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. So another one from Wendell Adams. How many projects have successfully raised on the platform, and what is the average amount?
So we had last year, even though it was one of the most difficult fundraising environments I've ever seen in my life, especially when you talk about blockchain, we had a number of projects that closed their early stage rounds. And then we had a number of projects that raised some money on their open and active rounds. And one of the things that you have to also kind of think about here is that we've built a platform to enable a company to go and successfully raise their round, but we don't restrict them from raising from other places. So we're not like a crowdfunding site where you must list here, you must do all your fundraising here, and everything is going to be done through these channels, and that's it. And all your investors are going to come from here. We really give you a tool and a SaaS product and a platform to be able to enable you to go raise capital. So funding sources can come from anywhere. We just give you tools to give you a leg up and actually make it a lot easier, faster, and more effective. So we had one lady that had never raised money before that's building a fintech platform, or more of a marketplace, I should say, that raised a few $100,000, and now she's getting ready to launch her $1 million round on the platform again. And then the other question, what was I going to say? What was the second question? I'm sorry.
What is the average amount?
Last year we saw the average was 1 to 3 million. Most people were overvaluing their companies. That's the other problem with fundraising, is that when people list these ridiculous valuations on their companies and they are so pre-revenue that it doesn't matter what platform you're on, you're not going to raise money, right? Especially in a down market like last year. And so the average raises that actually happened, we saw transaction checks of 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, smaller checks, which is what I think is kind of what you're seeing with a lot of the market. But typically most of the rounds are between 1 and 3 million that they're asking, because they're pre-seed to early seed. And then, we do have some that are $10 million listings, $5 million listings. We just had a $100 million fund that came on. So it just is kind of all over the map now.
That question in particular, the reason why I asked that is because of your economics that you're putting on there. So if you do pre-seed stuff like accelerators, often we'll just write a 25K check across the board and then they take equity from it. So, I mean, your platform's competing against other platforms as well for being the best system for startups to raise and investors to use it. So if you're doing $1 million in revenue, but you don't have big successes on it, where like, because that's what funds look for when you're doing funds of funds or anything else, like me as an LP will often want to write a check and do something where I have a certain amount of an X return or anything else. So I look for the successes on the platform. And if, you know, most of the startups on there are doing 25K and it's on their own, and they might list 10 million, but they only do 25K, that tells me that that's a pre-seed thing that they really need a lot more support on, and they're unlikely to scale. That's why I asked that question for product market fit, because your pricing as well, you know, you're charging what, $1,500 a month? They're getting 25K. You're basically sucking up all the funds they're getting already from the platform.
Yeah, it's a great question. So last year we had to choose our target market to try to go take the platform to market, right? There's a lot of different types of industries we could have gone after. And we chose the early stage market because we knew it the best, because some of us were founders and some people, you know, raised money before. So we understood at least enough about that market to be able to go after it. It's also one of the largest markets that's the most underserved. So people raising under $10 million is no man's land for help. Yes, you can join an accelerator, and yes, you potentially can get an early stage VC check, but most don't. And so
here's, I don't mean to cut you off, but here's a better way of phrasing this so that we can think about this as investors. How much money did flow through your platform directly last year?
Probably between 6 and 7 million.
So, and you're doing 1.5 in revenue that you're targeting off of it. That means that the vast majority of people coming through it, you're sucking off the amount that they're raising in the fees, and that they're unsuccessful from it. That's why I asked that, because
we didn't do $1 million.
Even though,
yeah, we're going to be on track this year to do $1 million. And the reason for that is that it's kind of a longer conversation, but we're shifting into later stage companies as serving, especially with our pricing. We purposely adjusted our pricing on January 1st because we wanted to serve more later stage companies. And also we're betting on what security tokens are actually going to serve and be able to do for folks, which is going to be a higher level consultative type of practice. So the average company is going to spend between $5,000 to $8,000 probably with us, which is going to generate a higher per customer revenue model, right? And the thing is that I don't expect us to have, you know, $100 million of money raised in our first year of just trying to build out the platform, right? We had to start somewhere. And last year, we spent a lot of time with super early stage companies in one of the hardest markets to raise capital. So obviously our revenue was super low because we weren't able to charge much. We didn't have services built out. It was a simple platform that hosted deals. It was bare bones, but we still did pretty good.
As bad as that market was, like I was from the Great Recession to the dot-com bust and stuff, that market, like in blockchain and stuff, checks were still being written more than any other time. And by far it was hard, but a lot of people, you know, they weren't working with startups 15, 20 years ago when this was going along at the same time. And I would just say with your pitch, like if you're going after this other market, which I definitely see, because you have people who hate Carta for a lot of different reasons and everything else, really focusing in on those three different, because I see this as more of a Carta competitor than I do as a different kind of system. So positioning as a Carta competitor, I think makes a lot of sense versus positioning as a Kickstarter competitor. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm smiling because it's the conversations we've had a lot in the last few weeks. And I appreciate your feedback, and I'd love to connect with you offline if you want.
Sure, LinkedIn me. So
we'll do.
All right, moving on to the next one. We have one question from Charles again. Can you share a link to your website and other socials? And I think we can see that on the screen, right?
Yeah. I can, if I don't have, that's our website, and I can drop my LinkedIn in the channel.
And meanwhile, moving on to another question from Ken from Connect Web3 PH. So the question is as follows: are you open partnership here in Asia, and what's mostly your challenges? Okay.
Here's my LinkedIn, by the way. Yes, we're definitely open to that. We understand that a lot of what we've built is going to open up a borderless kind of ecosystem of not only raising money but investing. I mean, that's obviously what a lot of crypto and blockchain does, but so there is nothing precluding anyone from any country using our platform to be able to facilitate kind of the common activity of going to market and raising money. So you could be in Asia, you can be anywhere. We've got a couple of outside the country projects that we've supported since really the last 4 months or so. And the question would be, what would be the type of business? Is it a startup trying to raise money, or is it an investor looking for projects to invest in? And so, yeah, we would love to connect on that, because we have somebody looking to kind of lead up those conversations in the Asia market right now. So yes, if you want to connect on that, I'd love to talk.
And regarding the challenges.
What challenges? There's a lot of challenges because we're early stage, and actually the question and answers back and forth you just heard a few minutes ago are part of those challenges. Is that as we pursue our goal of product market fit, we've recognized that what we've built is extremely powerful, but not necessarily everything can be used. A lot of stuff can't be used for early stage companies. Does it need to be used, right? But for later stage companies, it absolutely does. Yet later stage companies are not warming up yet quite to the idea of putting their securities on chain. So we're a little bit too early for big companies, a little bit too, advanced for early stage companies. So that's just the challenge of our company. But honestly, I'm so excited right now because of what we did in the last year and a half. And so it's, I'd say the only other challenge we have right now is just making sure that we can keep up with the demand, because we have roughly a 55% open rate with our lead gen right now, and a 10% conversion rate for booking. And we don't have enough people to service the demand of calls and the opportunities that are coming in. So, i.e. why we're continuing to raise money.
Thank you. So, Adia, do you have something to add here?
Yeah, I have also one quick question. I know that time is up, but maybe I didn't heard, and you said it. And do you have maybe new features or improvements that users can expect from your platform?
Sorry, repeat the question. Features for what?
Do you have new features or improvements that users can expect from your platform?
Yeah, I mean, what I was showing you guys about the token studio is going to be extremely powerful, because people are going to be able to go on there and configure their own token all on their own, configure their rules based on the regulatory understanding. They'll probably need help with a lawyer or one of our team members. But once they configure that, they can deploy that and feel like they can raise capital in a very different and unique way while following all the rules and regulations here in the United States. We're going to handhold everybody as we kind of roll those projects out and use those new features. But what that means is that once you raise capital kind of in a traditional way, you can then send, imagine being able to send, let's say you have 10 million shares on your cap table. You could send 100,000 shares to one of your co-founders or one of your team members that they can literally have in their wallet with an investor agreement that they've signed. So now that they physically have those shares representing the equity that's on the cap table, and no one can really take them away. However, if they lose the keys to their wallet, it's okay, because it's a permission-based blockchain. So there's a lot of really cool tools to be able to reissue tokens and be able to control things so that A, you don't get in trouble with violating regulatory issues, and then B, you don't have user problems and support problems that you can't support with wallets, which can be highly technical. So those features are very advanced, and we're pretty excited about those things. And then also being able to support funds, early stage funds that are coming on. There's a lot of unique things that are happening with that as well.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think I have any other comments and questions. I think we can finish for now. And thank you again for everyone coming. Everyone, sorry for my English. I don't know what's going on.
Before we actually finish, let's not forget about the announcement that we wanted to make. So from now on, our collective calls will be under new management. So the rights go to Palo Alto Labs. So basically the format of the calls will remain the same, and there are plans to continue organizing these calls in the near future. So guys, if you want to receive an invitation from Palo Alto, please fill out this form that I'm about to send you right now here in the chat, and we will also leave that in the description. So here is the link from Palo Alto form. And again, also you can subscribe to Palo Alto channel, so all the announcements will be there soon as well. So here goes another link from Palo Alto channel. All right, so yeah, so thanks Brian and Íñigo for your amazing pitch decks. It was a pleasure meeting you all here. Thanks all the listeners and all the guys joining in here. And I think we can see you soon, right? So don't forget about Palo Alto forms and channel. And yeah, thanks for joining in, and see you next time. Take care.